Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Was Lost Son of Krypton? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Midoriya was walking home one night from work. It was a quiet evening. In the distance, she noticed what appeared to be a shooting star. However, it was something entirely different, zooming rapidly toward her location. Panic set in as she sprinted out of the way just before it crashed to the ground. When she looked back at the scene, she didn't see an asteroid but a small spaceship adorned with a strange symbol resembling an S. Curiosity compelled her to move closer, and as she approached, the doors of the pod opened, revealing something that would change her life forever. Inside was an infant, no older than a few months. Izuku wondered whose baby it could be. She gently picked up the child and cradled him in her arms, noticing his bright green eyes and a sprinkling of freckles. It was clear he had no caretaker. That night, she decided to take him home, and as time passed, her bond with him deepened. She named him Izuku. Over the years, Izuku discovered the wonders of the world around him, including heroes, villains, and quirks. Izuku chose to keep his origin a secret until the right moment. Izuku made friends with Katsuki Bakugo, who was not particularly kind to him. Bakugo even gave him the nickname Deku, which meant useless. Despite this, Izuku admired him, especially after discovering Bakugo's quirk. However, a deep resentment began to grow in Bakugo after Izuku attempted to help him out of a small river. From that point on, Bakugo became more of a bully than a friend. More than anything, Izuku aspired to be like All Might, his idol and favorite person. He collected merchandise and watched videos of All Might for hours, becoming quite obsessed. When he turned 4, he begged Izuku to take him to a quirk doctor to see if he had one. Izuku worried that he might uncover the truth, but her own curiosity about his origins was also strong. During the examination, the doctor found nothing and informed Izuku that he was quirkless, which devastated him. That night, as he watched his favorite video of All Might, tears streamed down his face, yet he tried to maintain a smile. Izuku watched him with sorrow, but deep down, she sensed something special about him. She knelt beside him and reassured him that there was something unique about him, though she couldn't share the full story just yet. She urged him not to lose hope. Hope became a word that Izuku would carry with him for many years. One day, he witnessed Bakugo and his friends bullying a helpless kid. Unable to stand by any longer, he stepped in between them, demanding Bakugo to stop being mean. He declared that he would fight him if he didn't. Bakugo and his friends laughed, dismissing him. They charged at Izuku with their quirks, but he crouched down and covered his head. When Bakugo unleashed an explosion, Izuku remained completely unharmed. Confused, Bakugo tried again, only to find the same result. The kid with wings attempted to punch him, but he cried out in pain as his hand hurt. Another boy tried to pull Izuku, but he wouldn't budge. Realizing they were doing no damage, Izuku stood up. Bakugo launched another explosion, but Izuku lightly pushed him, sending him flying back. Bakugo's friends rushed to his side, and Bakugo, furious, demanded to know if Izuku had lied to him. Izuku simply ran off, contemplating that perhaps there was something special about him after all. Over the next decade, Bakugo continued to bully him, but each time, Izuku remained unfazed. At Alder Middle School, his classmates mocked him for being quirkless, and the teacher did little to intervene until the day Izuku's power began to awaken. The teacher announced that it was time to discuss future careers, knowing everyone wanted to be heroes. As the class erupted in excitement, Izuku stayed silent. Bakugo, dismissing his classmates, boasted about his achievements and his plans to attend UA High, claiming he would become the richest hero of all time. When the teacher mentioned Izuku's desire to attend UA, the class erupted in laughter. Anger surged within Izuku, and he felt a strange heat in his eyes. Bakugo, sensing the tension, slammed an explosion onto Izuku's desk, but Izuku remained still. Bakugo taunted him, belittling him as a weak, quirkless loser. At his breaking point, Izuku slammed his hands down on the desk, shattering it. The class fell silent, shocked by his outburst. The teacher hesitated, then dismissed it as easily replaceable, sensing the fear among the students. After class, as Izuku hurriedly packed his things, Bakugo attempted to snatch his notebook, but it wouldn't leave Izuku's grasp. Frustrated, Bakugo tried to explode it, but Izuku shoved him aside, sending him crashing against the wall. One of Bakugo's lackeys suggested they should stop picking on Izuku, but Bakugo refused to back down, threatening Izuku not to even think about applying to UA. Izuku didn't care one bit. As he was leaving, Bakugo turned to face him again and suggested that if Izuku wanted to be a hero, he might want to pray for a quirk in his next life and take a leap off the roof of the building. Izuku's anger reached its limit, and he felt a surge of energy. His eyes glowed red, and a beam shot out, striking Bakugo in the shoulder and causing him to stumble back. Panic quickly replaced Izuku's anger as he frantically looked around, the beams of energy cutting through desks and walls. He focused on one spot, closed his eyes, and concentrated until the energy subsided. One of Bakugo's friends expressed disbelief at what had just happened. Izuku approached Bakugo, who was nursing his shoulder in pain. He lifted Bakugo by the collar and warned him not to do that again before letting him drop. As he made his way home, Izuku was baffled by the events. He wondered if he was truly quirkless and decided he needed to ask his mother. However, as he passed through a tunnel, a mass of sludge poured out from a sewer manhole behind him. The sludge villain grabbed him and declared that he would be a perfect target. Izuku's heart raced as he struggled against the sludge that covered his mouth and wrapped around his body. Suddenly, he felt something cold. Looking down, he noticed the sludge beginning to freeze. Seizing the opportunity, he punched through the ice and broke free. The villain was taken aback, and Izuku exhaled frost until the villain was completely encased in ice. Just then, a mighty voice called out from behind him. It was All Might, the symbol of peace. Izuku was in awe. All Might took control of the situation, punching the frozen villain and shattering him into pieces. As the remnants began to melt, All Might collected them in bottles and praised Izuku for his bravery, leaving him with an autograph before flying away. Izuku couldn't believe he had just met All Might. Continuing home, he heard chaos and destruction nearby. Rushing over, he saw the sludge villain again, this time with Bakugo trapped within its grasp. Without hesitation, Izuku's legs moved on their own, fueled by a surge of anger. He focused his energy and shot a laser directly at the villain's eye, causing it to scream in pain. Quickly, he closed his eyes to cool down. Izuku approached the villain and began to pull Bakugo free. Bakugo protested, but Izuku insisted he wouldn't leave him to die. With some effort, he managed to extract Bakugo from the sludge. Once free, Izuku unleashed a powerful blast of frost, freezing the villain once more. This time, he didn't wait for All Might. He punched the villain with all his strength, breaking it into countless pieces. He wondered if he had just struck harder than All Might. The crowd cheered for Izuku, but the pro-heroes present were furious. They scolded him for acting recklessly and not waiting for them to handle the situation. Izuku felt disillusioned, thinking that heroes were supposed to inspire hope and safety, not fear and cowardice. He expressed his frustration, insisting that heroes should always strive to save anyone, regardless of the danger. The crowd was taken aback by Izuku's boldness, but deep down, they recognized the truth in his words. As he walked away, leaving Bakugo and the heroes behind, All Might observed the scene, pondering if Izuku could be the one. This marked the beginning of Izuku's journey to become a symbol of hope, a hero that others could look up to. After the sludge villain attack, Izuku continued home, still confused about the sudden emergence of his powers. He had gone from being quirkless to possessing abilities that rivaled All Might's. As he walked, he heard Bakugo's loud footsteps approaching, even though they were still some distance away. Bakugo soon emerged from an alleyway, angrily confronting Izuku. He accused Izuku of not helping him during the attack and insisted that his newfound powers did not make him superior. Bakugo declared that he didn't need Izuku's help and would still surpass him easily. Tired of Bakugo's shouting, Izuku briefly activated his heat vision at Bakugo's feet, startling him. Bakugo responded with a dismissive gesture before storming off. Moments later, All Might appeared around the corner. Izuku was excited but confused about how he had managed to bypass the crowd. All Might boisterously declared that no crowd could hold him, but suddenly transformed into his frail form, blood trickling from his mouth. Izuku gasped in shock. All Might reassured him that he was still the same person and began to explain his true identity as Toshinori Yagi. He shared the story of his injury and how he could only maintain his heroic form for a limited time each day. He also revealed the legacy of One for All and how it had been passed down through generations. Izuku listened in awe, impressed by All Might's story. He asked why All Might was sharing this with him. All Might expressed his desire for Izuku to become his successor, recognizing the courage, strength, and perseverance within him, qualities essential for a true hero. All Might expressed his belief in Izuku's potential to inherit great power. Izuku, however, felt compelled to decline the offer, surprising All Might. He explained that over the years, he had believed himself to be quirkless, even receiving confirmation from a doctor. Yet, today had revealed to him that he possessed abilities beyond his imagination. He shared how he could withstand explosions without harm and send someone flying with a mere flick. Izuku continued, acknowledging that having both All Might's power and his own would be overwhelming. He believed there was someone more deserving of the power than himself. All Might, intrigued, asked if Izuku had any idea why these changes were happening to him. Izuku mentioned that his mother might have answers, as she had hinted at something special about him but had withheld the details until the right moment. Izuku then expressed his desire for mentorship, recognizing All Might's experience in mastering incredible power. He sought guidance to unlock his full potential and ensure he wouldn't accidentally harm anyone, referencing a recent incident with a friend. All Might agreed to train him, suggesting they meet at the ruined Takoba beach the following day. After parting ways, Izuku rushed home, bursting through the door to share his day's revelations with his mother, Inko. He asked her who he truly was, and Inko felt he was ready for the truth. She revealed that he was not from their world, recounting a night when a fiery object had fallen from the sky, leading her to discover him inside a small pod. She had raised him as her son, always sensing his uniqueness. Izuku was astonished to learn about the other pod that had landed but remained unexplored. Inko had kept his pod a secret and revealed a bright red and blue suit with a symbol resembling an S that had come with it. She assured him it would fit perfectly. Excited, Izuku tried it on, realizing the significance of the symbol. He expressed his desire for it to represent hope and safety for others, declaring it should stand for Superman. As time passed, All Might and Izuku's relationship deepened. Over 9 months, All Might trained Izuku to manage his powers effectively. Izuku amazed All Might with his strength, control over his laser vision, and the ability to use frost breath. He even discovered his ability to see through walls and run at incredible speeds. Their bond grew, resembling a father-son relationship. Izuku eventually confided in All Might about his origins, and though initially skeptical, All Might recognized that it explained Izuku's extraordinary powers. They agreed to keep each other's secrets, and Izuku shared his aspiration to become a symbol of hope, which filled All Might with pride. Izuku's hero name was initially simple, but All Might suggested the slogan, "The Man of Steel," which resonated with Izuku. All Might admired Izuku's immense power but also felt a sense of concern. He understood that if Izuku were to ever turn to darkness, he could become a formidable threat. It became clear that Izuku might be the key to defeating All Might's greatest enemy. As the entrance exam approached, Izuku felt a surge of readiness, pride, and determination. Standing outside UA, he was filled with excitement about becoming the next symbol of hope. However, in a moment of clumsiness, he tripped over his own leg. Just before hitting the ground, he found himself suspended in midair, thanks to a girl with brown hair and pink cheeks who had used her quirk to catch him. She apologized for using her ability without permission, joking that it would be bad luck to fall before the exam. Izuku, taken aback by her kindness, could hardly respond, but she assured him they would see each other inside. As she ran into UA, she called out her goodbye, leaving him stunned. He couldn't believe he had just spoken to a girl. Moments later, Bakugo approached him, demanding he get out of the way. Izuku felt a surge of irritation and challenged him with a smirk, which only fueled Bakugo's anger. Bakugo threatened him, trying to push him aside, but Izuku stood his ground. When Bakugo attempted to use a small explosion to intimidate him, it had no effect. Frustrated, Bakugo stomped around him, and Izuku remarked that Bakugo should think before he spoke. Bakugo responded with a dismissive gesture before entering the building. Izuku followed shortly after and took a seat in the auditorium, surrounded by many other students. Soon, the pro-hero present Mike took the stage to explain the exam format. There would be various robots in the training area, each worth different points, along with a 0-point robot that students needed to avoid. After the briefing, a tall boy with dark blue hair and glasses stood up, pointing out a flaw in the system and calling out Izuku for his mumbling. Izuku, who had been taking notes, hadn't realized he was being distracting and quickly apologized. The written portion of the exam went well for Izuku, and he excelled. As the students moved to the changing area for the physical part, he spotted the girl who had saved him earlier. He started to approach her, but the boy with glasses intervened, accusing him of trying to sabotage her preparation. Izuku brushed off the boy's hand and defended his intentions, insisting he just wanted to talk. Before the boy could respond, the doors to the exam area opened, and Present Mike urged everyone to hurry. Izuku took off, sprinting ahead of the others. One by one, he began to take down robots using his punches, laser eyes, and freezing abilities, rapidly accumulating points. The pro-heroes observing were impressed by Izuku's display of strength. Nizu expressed his amazement, while All Might noted that Izuku shared the same ambitions as him, wanting to be a symbol of hope. However, when Nizu inquired about Izuku's quirk, All Might panicked, not wanting to reveal his secret. He hastily claimed it was super, leaving the other heroes bewildered. Meanwhile, Izuku continued to destroy robots, ensuring he had more than enough points to secure his place at UA. He decided to allow other students a chance to score as well. Just then, he felt a rumble beneath him and spotted the 0-pointer in the distance. Many students fled in fear, but Izuku heard a cry for help and turned back. Using his enhanced vision, he saw the girl he admired in danger of being crushed. With determination, he sprinted toward the massive robot and leaped into the air, delivering a powerful punch that caused it to topple back. The watching heroes were astonished, and Nizu couldn't contain his excitement, insisting they admit Izuku to the school immediately. Izuku, still in disbelief over his own strength, realized he was hovering in the air. Panic set in as he wondered how he was flying, but he gradually descended to the ground. He rushed over to the girl, lifting the rubble off her with ease. He asked if she was all right, and she thanked him for saving her, though she mentioned her ankle might be injured. He offered to help her to the recovery area, and she gratefully accepted. As he carried her, he felt nervous and flustered. They exchanged names, with her introducing herself as Achiko Uraraka. Once they reached the hospital area, he gently set her down on a bed, and she expressed her gratitude once more, leaving Izuku blushing. After a few hours, Izuku received a letter containing a hologram of All Might, congratulating him on his performance in the exam and informing him that he had made it into the prestigious Class 1A at UA. His incredible journey was just beginning. Following the entrance exam, Izuku had a private conversation with All Might about a new power he had discovered: flight. This was a skill he was eager to master, as it would enhance his abilities and bring him closer to being like All Might. All Might was intrigued and encouraged Izuku to demonstrate. Crouching down, Izuku pushed off the ground and launched himself 20 feet into the air. However, he struggled to maintain his altitude and began to descend shakily. Izuku was still figuring things out and needed more practice. All Might reassured him, recalling his own struggles with flying when he first discovered it. He promised to guide Izuku soon. Izuku expressed his gratitude, but then All Might brought up the girl he had saved. Instantly, Izuku became flustered and panicked, trying to articulate his thoughts. He mentioned that she was nice and pretty, but stumbled over his words. All Might chuckled, understanding the feelings of a young hero, and advised Izuku not to let those feelings distract him. The next day, Izuku stood outside UA, excited for his first day. As he entered, he hoped he wouldn't have the same class as Bakugo or the glasses-wearing boy who had bossed him around before. Upon reaching Class 1A, he was taken aback by the size of the door. When he opened it, he found the two boys he wanted to avoid arguing about the rules regarding feet on desks. The boy with glasses introduced himself as Tenya Ida. Izuku recognized him and introduced himself in return. Ida bowed and apologized for his earlier behavior during the entrance exam, acknowledging Izuku's incredible power. Izuku felt relieved. Perhaps Ida wasn't so bad after all. Suddenly, a cheerful voice called out to him. It was Achiko, who ran up to praise him for his heroic actions during the exam. Izuku felt shy and bashful, hoping he didn't appear foolish in front of her. He thanked her modestly, while she expressed her excitement about meeting their classmates. Just then, a tired voice interrupted them. They turned to see a figure wrapped in a sleeping bag on the floor. It was Shoyuta Aizawa, who introduced himself as their instructor for the hero course. After taking a sip from an applesauce pouch, he informed them that it had taken them 4 minutes to quiet down, which was unacceptable. He instructed them to put on their gym uniforms and meet him outside in 2 minutes. Achiko questioned the lack of orientation, but Aizawa dismissed it, stating that the hero course didn't have time for such things. The class hurried to change and made their way to the gym area, where Aizawa awaited them with a ball in hand. He announced that Izuku, having scored the highest in the entrance exam, would go first. Bakugo, feeling frustrated, believed he had performed better. Aizawa asked Izuku how far he could throw a ball, but Izuku couldn't recall. Aizawa encouraged him to set a new record while using his quirk, reminding him to stay within the circle. Excitement buzzed through the class at the prospect of using their quirks, but Aizawa quickly added that the lowest scorer would be expelled. Panic spread among the students as they protested the unfairness of such a decision. Aizawa explained that the real world was not fair and that his course was meant to prepare them for the harsh realities of being heroes. Determined to make a good impression and avoid expulsion, Izuku took the ball and stepped into the circle. He focused, wound up, and launched the ball with all his might. The ground cracked beneath him, causing his classmates to stumble slightly. Aizawa was taken aback by the distance Izuku achieved, measuring it at an astonishing 2,000 meters, the best score ever recorded. All Might, watching from a distance, whispered his approval, and Izuku smiled at the praise. The class was in shock, buzzing with questions about how he had accomplished such a feat. Bakugo, however, was consumed by jealousy and charged at Izuku, demanding to know how he did it. Aizawa intervened, using his scarf to restrain Bakugo, explaining its strength. As Izuku walked past Bakugo, he couldn't help but smirk, further fueling Bakugo's anger. Aizawa warned the class not to make him use his quirk, as it caused him discomfort. The students gave their best efforts in the tests, with Achiko surprisingly surpassing Izuku's score using her quirk. Izuku excelled in every test Aizawa presented, ultimately achieving the highest score overall, while a student named Mineta ended up in last place. Just when the class thought they could relax, Aizawa announced that no one was going home, revealing it had been a tactic to motivate them. The class erupted in disbelief. Momo expressed her surprise that the others hadn't recognized the trick, suggesting she should have mentioned it earlier. The class silently agreed, acknowledging her point. Aizawa then announced the end of the day, urging everyone to bring their best efforts tomorrow. As the students packed up, Aizawa approached All Might. All Might greeted Aizawa with a nervous tone, inquiring about the class. However, Aizawa cut him off, demanding to know about Midoriya. All Might feigned ignorance, but Aizawa pressed on, noting that he had never seen anyone like Midoriya in his years of teaching. He remarked on Midoriya's remarkable strength and unique quirk, emphasizing that he was aware of All Might's mentorship. All Might felt a wave of anxiety wash over him, realizing he couldn't reveal Izuku's secret just yet. He admitted that there was something special about Midoriya but couldn't disclose any details at that moment. Aizawa, determined to uncover the truth, vowed that he would find out, regardless of All Might's intentions. Meanwhile, Izuku and Ida were walking home after a thrilling first day at school. Izuku expressed his excitement for what the next day would bring, while Ida complimented Izuku's impressive quirk, noting he had never seen anything like it before. Suddenly, Achiko caught up with them, praising Izuku for his performance that day. She curiously asked why the angry blonde boy had called him Deku. Izuku explained that it was meant as an insult, meaning useless, but he dismissed it as untrue. Achiko, however, found the name endearing, suggesting it could be a cute nickname. Izuku, eager to embrace the positivity, encouraged her to call him Deku. Ida was puzzled by this exchange, questioning why Izuku would accept a name that was initially intended as an insult. Izuku clarified that Achiko had redefined the term for him, and he felt it was acceptable for her to use it. With a newfound camaraderie, Achiko cheered for their class, and Izuku blushed at the encouragement. They left for home, both aware of the budding feelings they held for each other, knowing they couldn't keep it hidden for long. Class 1A was sitting in their homeroom, eagerly awaiting the start of the day, unaware that All Might would be their teacher. He burst into the classroom, announcing his arrival with enthusiasm while wearing one of his older costumes complete with a cape. The students were thrilled to see the #1 hero in person, especially Izuku. All Might explained that they would be participating in a hero training exercise and emphasized the importance of looking the part. With the push of a button, lockers filled with hero costumes opened. He instructed everyone to suit up and meet him in the training area. Izuku donned his iconic red and blue suit, proudly displaying the S symbol on his chest, and made his way to the training exercise. All Might noticed Izuku's cape and remarked on it, suggesting he was taking inspiration. He then explained the exercise. 2 teams would compete, one as heroes and the other as villains. The villains would have 5 minutes to hide a fake bomb inside a building, after which the heroes would enter to find and touch the bomb to win. All Might announced the first hero team as Izuku and Uraraka, who was pleasantly surprised to find herself on a team with him. The villain team was made up of Bakugo and Ida. Bakugo shot a glare at Izuku, but he stood his ground. With the signal given, Bakugo and Ida rushed into the building to plant the bomb. Uraraka and Izuku decided to stick together until they encountered Bakugo or Ida. Izuku suggested entering through a nearby window. Once inside, Izuku used his enhanced hearing to detect Bakugo approaching, warning Uraraka to get behind him. Bakugo burst through the wall, and Izuku instinctively shielded Uraraka. After confirming she was okay, Uraraka dashed off to find Ida and the bomb. Bakugo confronted Izuku, expressing his frustration over the years of believing Izuku was quirkless and weak. Izuku tried to explain, but Bakugo was too fired. In a moment of confrontation, Bakugo unleashed his explosive power, but Izuku stood firm, absorbing the impact. The explosion shook the building, leaving the watching classmates in shock. When the dust settled, Izuku emerged unscathed, his expression serious. Bakugo, stunned by Izuku's resilience, prepared for another attack. Izuku quickly closed the distance and swatted Bakugo aside, sending him crashing to the ground. Meanwhile, in a separate building, Class 1A and All Might observed the unfolding action. They were amazed by Izuku's strength and worried about Bakugo's reckless behavior. Bakugo, recovering from the impact, was determined to prove himself. He readied another explosive attack, but All Might intervened, warning him of the potential danger. Izuku, undeterred, zoomed toward Bakugo and swiftly incapacitated him. He then made his way to the top floor, where he found Uraraka playfully teasing Ida for taking the exercise too seriously. Izuku joined in the fun, adopting a heroic persona as he confronted Ida. The two engaged in a mock battle, with Ida playing his role as the villain. Izuku effortlessly overpowered him and touched the bomb, securing victory for the hero team. All Might congratulated them on their success, and Uraraka praised Izuku for his performance. Izuku, modest as ever, downplayed his achievement while trying to hide his blush. After the training session, All Might commended the class for their efforts, noting the lack of major injuries and expressing his belief in their potential. He then hurried away, feeling his time in his hero form was running short. Back in the main classroom, the students excitedly surrounded Izuku, eager to learn more about him and his powers. Uraraka's feelings for him deepened, and she became curious about his true self. Meanwhile, Ida reflected on his own disappointment at not living up to his brother's legacy. Izuku was determined to prove his neglectful father wrong. As he navigated through the bustling crowd of his classmates, he spotted Bakugo exiting the building. He hurried over to him, eager to talk. "Kaken, listen to me," Izuku said, trying to get Bakugo's attention. Bakugo halted in his tracks, frustration evident on his face. "There's something about me that you're not understanding." Bakugo's anger flared. He exclaimed that Izuku had lied to him, insisting that he had a quirk and was now trying to make Bakugo look foolish. The attack earlier had seemingly done nothing to him, fueling Bakugo's rage. Izuku replied that he couldn't explain everything just yet, but he promised that he would in due time. Bakugo dismissed him, vowing that he would always surpass Izuku and that he would soon be begging to catch up. With a sigh, Izuku thought to himself that this year was going to be quite long. Later, as Izuku made his way to UA, he practiced his flight and contemplated how to master it. He felt a growing urgency to discover his true identity. Suddenly he was swarmed by reporters outside the entrance, all eager to ask about All Might and his role at UA. Overwhelmed, Izuku apologized and zoomed away, leaving the crowd astonished by his speed. Upon arriving in class, Aizawa announced that they needed to elect a new class president and representative. He seemed indifferent, more focused on his nap. After the votes were cast, Izuku was shocked to learn that he had been elected class president, with Yaoyorozu as the representative. Izuku couldn't believe it. He wondered how he had received 3 votes. Bakugo, furious, demanded to know who had voted for Izuku. Shiro teased Bakugo, suggesting that no one would vote for him. Achiko decided to keep her vote to herself. Once the election was over, the class gathered in the classroom, where Izuku, Ida, and Achiko shared snacks. Izuku expressed his surprise at being elected, unsure if he was the right person for the role. Ida reassured him, stating that he was the best fit for the position and that his qualities embodied what Class 1A stood for. He admired Izuku's desire to inspire others and help people feel safe, qualities that defined a true hero. Grateful for their support, Izuku promised not to let them down. Just then, an alarm blared throughout the school, causing panic as students rushed out of the building. Seeing the chaos, Izuku zoomed to a nearby ledge to get everyone's attention. "Everyone, calm down," he called out, and the crowd halted in response. He assured them that it was not a major emergency and urged them to stay calm. Once the situation settled, Aizawa instructed the class to don their hero costumes and meet him outside for the rescue trial at the USJ. Izuku put on his red and blue suit, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. On the bus, he and Tsu began to chat. Tsu remarked on Izuku's unique power, hinting that it was anything but ordinary. Izuku felt a twinge of panic, not wanting anyone to discover his secret just yet. He explained that it was a special quirk he was still mastering, assuring her it was perfectly normal. Kirishima chimed in, suggesting that if Izuku was accepted into UA, his quirk must be fine. The conversation shifted as the class began to tease Bakugo about his temper, which only made him angrier. Izuku found amusement in the situation. When they arrived at the USJ, they were greeted by the pro-rescue hero 13, much to Uraraka's excitement. However, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when a large purple portal opened, and menacing figures emerged. Kaminari commented on the fake villains, but Eraserhead quickly corrected him, warning that they were real threats. He prepared to confront them, insisting that the class stay back. Izuku protested, concerned for Aizawa's safety, but Aizawa assured him he would be fine. As the confrontation began, Izuku took charge, urging everyone to evacuate. The students started to move toward the exit, but a purple mist blocked their path. The villain responsible announced their intent to attack, and in a flash, he teleported Izuku to the water area of the USJ. Izuku attempted to fly but could only hover briefly before plunging into the water. Frustrated, he realized he needed to master his flying abilities soon. Just then, a shark-like villain surged toward him, prompting Izuku to activate his laser eyes and blast the creature back. Tsu quickly navigated the water and used her tongue to pull Izuku onto a nearby boat, where Mineta was also stranded. Grateful, Izuku thanked her for the assistance. Tsu remarked that he had handled the villain well. Panicking, Mineta questioned what they should do. Tsu began to doubt whether the hero life was right for her. Izuku then had a realization, Since they were in the water area, the villains likely didn't know about their quirks. Tsu agreed, noting that if they had known, they would have sent her to the fire area. Izuku proposed a plan to use his frost breath to freeze the water, but he needed Tsu to lower him down with her tongue to reach it. With determination, Tsu wrapped her tongue around Izuku and began to lower him toward the water, hoping their plan would work. Low enough for the villains to be unable to reach him, Izuku blew as hard as he could. The ice began to spread across the surface of the water, trapping the villains beneath it. He urged his friends to hurry, as the ice wouldn't hold forever. Tsu grabbed Mineta and jumped down, and Izuku caught her. They ran across the ice, with Tsu using her sticky feet to maintain balance while Mineta used his purple ball to do the same. As they sprinted, the villains beneath the water started to crack the ice. Mineta shouted for them to hurry. They barely made it to the edge of the land before the ice broke. Izuku let out a sigh of relief, and Tsu praised his quick thinking. They needed to reach the central plaza to help Mr. Aizawa. When they arrived, they were horrified to see Aizawa collapsed on the ground, with a giant monster looming over him. A creepy man with pale skin and numerous hands scratched his neck in frustration, lamenting their futile efforts. Spotting the three students, he rushed towards them, ready to attack Tsu. Just as he was about to reach her, he screeched in pain. A white dog with a cape resembling Izuku's appeared, biting the man's arm. The dog then growled and threw the villain back towards the Nomu and Aizawa. The man, unfazed, ordered the Nomu to attack, but the dog retaliated by shooting lasers from its eyes, pushing the Nomu back. Izuku was astonished, realizing the dog seemed to share abilities with him. Mineta expressed his disbelief at the existence of a dog version of Izuku. The dog then zoomed over and tackled Izuku, liking his face in excitement. Despite the seriousness of the situation, Izuku couldn't help but laugh. The dog backed up, wagging its tail, as if it had been reunited with its owner. Izuku noticed the collar attached to the cape had the same S symbol as his own. Reading the name on the collar, he exclaimed that the dog's name must be Krypto. Izuku wondered about Krypto's origins, but Tsu interrupted, pointing out that the Nomu was getting back up. Shigaraki expressed disbelief that the creature, designed to defeat All Might, was still functioning. Just then, a blast from the entrance of the USJ announced All Might's arrival. He zoomed in, his expression serious, which surprised Izuku. All Might quickly approached the students, stating that they needed to take down the creature together. Izuku was thrilled at the prospect of working alongside his hero and insisted that Krypto could help. All Might was taken aback by the presence of the dog but agreed to trust Izuku's instincts. He instructed Tsu and Mineta to take Aizawa and the other students to safety. The three of them took fighting positions as Shigaraki declared that the symbol of peace would fall that day. The Nomu charged at them with incredible speed. Izuku intercepted its punch with his bare hand, causing the ground to crack beneath them. He then threw the Nomu towards All Might, who punched it back towards Krypto. Krypto bit down hard on the Nomu, causing it to shriek. He tossed it around like a toy before soaring into the air with the creature in his mouth, then threw it down while activating his laser eyes. The Nomu crashed into the ground, creating a small crater. Before it could recover, Izuku and All Might zoomed in to deliver a powerful punch to its head. The impact was tremendous, echoing throughout the USJ and creating a shockwave. The Nomu was obliterated, leaving behind only debris. Shigaraki was left in disbelief, questioning how this was possible. Kurojiiri urged him to retreat, sensing the arrival of more heroes. Shigaraki reluctantly agreed, vowing that they would not be defeated so easily. As the heroes arrived, the students evacuated. All Might suddenly transformed back into his slimmer form, visibly exhausted. Izuku rushed to check on him, concerned for his well-being. All Might reassured him, praising both Izuku and Krypto for their performance. Izuku explained how Krypto had saved Tsu's life, feeling a strange connection to the dog. As the students exited the USJ, they were left in awe of the power displayed by Izuku and Krypto. Questions about Izuku's true nature began to circulate among them. Mina expressed her disbelief that All Might had allowed Izuku to fight alongside him, while Shoto noted the oddity of the situation. Bakugo voiced his suspicion about Izuku, feeling that something was off. Meanwhile, at the villain's hideout, Shigaraki and Kurogiri were recovering from their defeat. Frustrated, Shigaraki lamented that things hadn't gone as planned. He couldn't comprehend how a student like Izuku, along with Krypto, could possess such extraordinary power. Shigi expressed his thoughts to Tamura, suggesting that they might find a useful ally. Kurogiri responded, indicating that they needed to expand their circle of trust. He mentioned a man who had approached him the previous night, urging him to stay in contact. Kurogiri handed Shigi a card with a phone number and the name of the company, LutherCorp. After the USJ incident, Class 1A was left shaken. It was their first encounter with major villains, and while Izuku had faced such threats before, the rest of the class was filled with suspicion and curiosity about him. They were particularly puzzled by the appearance of a dog that had seemingly joined the fight, sharing powers similar to one of their classmates. The situation felt confusing to them all. Krypto had gone missing after the attack, and Izuku was uncertain of his whereabouts, but he was sure this wouldn't be the last time he encountered him. In their homeroom, Aizawa entered and addressed the class, informing them about the upcoming sports festival. He emphasized its importance for their time at UA and encouraged everyone to give their best effort. Kirishima became excited, ready to take on the challenge, but was interrupted by Kaminari, who reminded him to temper his enthusiasm. Jiro raised a concern about the timing of the festival, questioning whether it was wise to hold it so soon after a villain attack. Aizawa reassured them that many heroes and spectators would be present, and villains would not dare to strike during such a significant event. The class then concluded their session and took a break. Izuku, Uraraka, and Ida gathered in the hallway. Uraraka shared her desire to help her parents achieve financial stability through her hero work. Ida expressed admiration for his brother, Ingenium, who had always looked out for him after their mother had died in a villain attack. He explained that their father, a scientist at Star Labs, was often preoccupied with his work and had not been present for them. Izuku empathized with Ida's situation, but before they could continue, a loud voice interrupted them. All Might made a grand entrance, inviting Izuku to join him for lunch. Uraraka found the scene amusing. Once they were alone, All Might transformed back into his slimmer form and inquired about Izuku's progress with his powers. Izuku reported improvements in his flying and other abilities but expressed his nervousness about the upcoming festival and the potential to hurt someone. All Might encouraged him, insisting that if he could control his powers, he would be fine. He reminded Izuku that he had the potential to surpass even him and urged him to show the world his true self during the festival. Just then, Krypto appeared outside the window, prompting Izuku to call out in surprise. Krypto burst in, excitedly tackling Izuku and liking his face. All Might commented on the need to teach Krypto some control. Izuku greeted Krypto and noticed he was trying to lead him away. Despite his reservations about leaving class, he felt compelled to follow Krypto, especially with All Might's assurance that he would cover for him. Izuku quickly changed into his costume and leaped out of the window, using a super jump to follow Krypto. They arrived at a secluded alley where Krypto revealed something hidden under a tarp. When Krypto pulled it off, Izuku was astonished to find another pod resembling his own. As they approached the pod, it scanned them, and a hologram of a man who looked like Izuku appeared. The figure introduced himself as Jor-El, a leading scientist from the planet Krypton and Izuku's biological father. Izuku was left speechless as Jor-El explained that Krypton had once been a peaceful planet until it was invaded. Jor-El continued, revealing that Izuku had been sent to Earth as an infant to ensure his survival, as their planet faced imminent destruction. The hologram displayed images of the invasion, leaving Izuku feeling a mix of fear and confusion about his origins and the fate of his home planet. But they did not want him to be alone, Jor-El explained. He introduced Krypto, a puppy sent with him to act as his guide and friend. Izuku felt a sense of connection, realizing there was something special about their bond as Krypto barked and wagged his tail. Jor-El continued, revealing that Izuku, known as Zoran, was the last surviving member of the Kryptonian race. He needed to carry on their legacy and become the man his parents envisioned. They wanted him to survive, which meant finding solitude. As the hologram faded, a handprint appeared on the pod. Izuku pondered if Zoran was his true name and turned to Krypto, acknowledging the dog's cleverness in hiding the pod. He placed his hand on it and it scanned him. Suddenly, the pod activated, scooping him up and taking flight. Izuku was startled as the pod zoomed off, with Krypto following closely behind. The pod announced its destination, the Fortress of Solitude. The pod moved swiftly through the air, and Izuku marveled at its performance after so many years. He felt a chill and looked out to see a frozen tundra below. He wondered if he was in the Arctic and noted Krypto's impressive speed as he kept up. As the pod slowed and descended, it announced their arrival. Izuku stepped out but found himself in an empty expanse, questioning the pod's functionality. Suddenly, the ground rumbled, and massive ice spikes emerged, forming a structure. As the dust settled, Izuku was astonished to see the fortress materialize before him. He approached what appeared to be a flat wall, wondering how to enter. Krypto whimpered beside him. As they drew closer, the door lit up, revealing a symbol that matched the one on Izuku's chest. The door opened, and he was awestruck by the interior, which featured a flat area illuminated by a beam of sunlight. Curiosity drove him to explore further. He entered another area that resembled a zoo, filled with strange creatures he had never seen before. He found it both bizarre and amazing, noticing empty cages and wondering about their purpose. Krypto, excited, discovered his own little doghouse and brought a ball to Izuku, eager to play. Izuku was surprised by the weight of the ball, realizing Krypto must be exceptionally strong. He threw the ball, and Krypto dashed after it, leaving Izuku to explore the other rooms. In the next room, he encountered a massive, empty steel book. He speculated it might be for him to write in and had an idea. Activating his laser vision, he inscribed some of his most useful hero analogies from his original notebook. He felt a sense of ownership, knowing he could write in it without fear of losing his notes. Moving on, he entered a gym filled with various equipment. He approached a medium-sized dumbbell, thinking it would be easy to lift, but found it incredibly heavy. After struggling to lift it a few inches, he discovered it weighed an astonishing 200 quintillion tons. He resolved to lift it fully one day. In the next room, a laboratory filled with unfamiliar technologies caught his attention. He marveled at the possibilities and hoped to learn how to use the equipment. Suddenly, a series of robots activated and approached him, announcing their purpose as his Kryptonian helpers, created by his father to assist him. Grateful, Izuku expressed his need for help learning about the technology. The robots assured him they would always be there for assistance. He then discovered a massive computer, but it was all in Kryptonian text, leaving him puzzled. He planned to ask one of the robots for help later. In the final room, he found a museum with empty podiums. One podium caught his eye, labeled, "To be used for someone special." When he touched it, it prompted him to speak a name. He said, Achiko Uraraka, and her hologram appeared on the podium. Inspired, he decided to add the rest of his classmates from Class 1A, excluding Bakugo. Izuku believed that he had to earn his way back to friendship. After completing the tour of the Fortress of Solitude, he returned to the main room, intrigued by the beam of sunlight that illuminated the space. Stepping into it, he felt an incredible surge of energy and strength, sensing that his body was improving. As he knelt down to concentrate, the voices of those he cherished filled his mind. His father, Toro, reminded him that the symbol of the House of L represented hope and the belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good. Inko, his mother, encouraged him, saying he was sent for a reason and that he owed it to himself to discover it. They spoke of choices, the importance of standing proud before humanity, and the wonders he could help people achieve. With each word, Izuku felt his confidence and power grow. He realized that the hopes and dreams of Krypton lived within him, and his parents expressed their pride in him. They urged him to show the world who he was and to love others as they had loved him. With a final encouragement to fly, Izuku propelled himself into the air, feeling the pure sunlight envelop him. With the power of flight now at his disposal, Izuku and Krypto zoomed back to Japan to prepare for the sports festival. Over the next 2 weeks, he trained diligently both in and out of the fortress while keeping up with his studies. The assistant robots helped him understand Kryptonian technology and culture better. Crypto grew closer to Inko, becoming a beloved family pet, with a place in both the fortress and their home. Finally, the day of the sports festival arrived. Class 1A gathered in the arena, ready for the events. Shoto Todoroki approached Izuku, asserting his strength and determination to defeat him. Izuku acknowledged Shoto's strength but vowed to give his all as well. With that, Shoto walked away, leaving Izuku feeling proud as his class prepared to showcase their abilities. Inko and Crypto watched the festival on TV. Crypto wagged his tail with excitement, while Inko felt anxious for her son. Sensing her worry, Crypto rested his head on her lap, offering comfort. As the event began, the charismatic hero Midnight welcomed everyone to the UA Sports Festival. She announced that the top student of Class 1A, Izuku Midoriya, would say a few words. Izuku was taken aback by the honor, while Bakugo seethed with frustration at being overlooked. Nervously, Izuku made his way to the stage, feeling frozen in place. He reminded himself that he needed to appear confident to inspire others. Gathering his courage, he spoke into the microphone. He shared how he had always been inspired to do good, realizing that not all heroes acted selflessly. He expressed his desire to create a new symbol of hope and urged everyone to remember their purpose, to help others. The crowd responded with enthusiasm, cheering for Izuku's inspirational message. As the obstacle course began, the students rushed out, with Shoto creating an ice path to hinder their progress. However, Izuku soared above the obstacles with ease, leaving his classmates astonished. As he faced the massive robots, he skillfully maneuvered through the air, using his heat vision to disable them. Shoto, frustrated that his ice had no effect, watched as Izuku flew over a large ravine. Suddenly, Bakugo's voice echoed through the arena as he used explosions to propel himself toward Izuku. Izuku decided to retreat, but Bakugo's explosion had no impact on him. He grabbed Bakugo by the collar, grounding him with a warning not to push too far. Bakugo, stunned and enraged, couldn't believe that Izuku was holding back against him. Izuku raced through the minefield, securing an easy first place. The crowd erupted in cheers as Present Mike announced his victory, noting the significant gap between him and the other competitors. Aizawa remained silent, his suspicions about Izuku growing. There was something he and All Might were not revealing. The next event was announced, the cavalry battle. Students would wear headbands worth points, and teams would protect the person wearing the headband. The team that collected the most valuable headbands would advance to the next round. Midnight revealed that Izuku's headband was worth a staggering 10 million points, causing the entire UA crowd to glare at him. Feeling the pressure, Izuku was relieved when Achiko chose to team up with him. Mei Hatsum also joined, excitedly showcasing her gadgets and expressing her hope for investment in her inventions. Izuku appreciated her enthusiasm but reassured her that they wouldn't need them. He proposed a plan that would allow them to breeze through the competition if they trusted him. Tokoyami approached, expressing confidence in Izuku's abilities. He noted that many students were foolishly trying to team up with Bakugo, unaware of Izuku's true potential. Flattered yet wary of being used, Izuku agreed to team up with Tokoyami. With his 10 million point headband secured, Izuku gathered his teammates and instructed them to hold on tightly. He planned to lift them high enough to avoid being targeted until the time ran out. Achiko questioned his ability to lift them all, but Tokoyami assured her he could. As the round began, Izuku took flight, soaring higher into the air while his teammates clung to him. The other students expressed their frustration at his strategy, but Izuku remained focused. Achiko praised his strength as they flew, while Bakugo, in second place, shouted angrily from below. When the buzzer sounded, Izuku descended and released his teammates, once again claiming first place, albeit through a clever tactic. The tournament-style one-on-one fights commenced. Before they began, Shoto requested to speak with Izuku privately. When they met, Shoto asked if Izuku was truly All Might's secret love child. Izuku was taken aback, denying the claim. Shoto observed similarities between them, noting Izuku's desire to help others without seeking fame or fortune. He expressed curiosity about Izuku's quirk, prompting Izuku to hesitate before responding. "I'm just a student trying to give it my all," he said, but Shoto insisted there were no students like him. Shoto then shared his own painful backstory, revealing the abuse he suffered from his father, who treated him more like a creation than a son. He explained that he vowed never to use his fire side, determined to prove his worth by defeating Izuku. Izuku listened intently, now understanding Shoto's behavior. He responded with determination, stating that they should both give their all in the upcoming match. Prepared to face off, each resolved to prove themselves. Chapter End. Izuku's first opponent in the sports festival was Hitoshi Shinso. They met on the battlefield, where Shinso remarked on Izuku's reputation, commenting that he expected him to be taller. Before Izuku could respond, Ojiro, who chose not to participate in the fights, advised him not to engage with Shinso's taunts. Before the battle began, Izuku met with All Might, who encouraged him. He reminded Izuku that facing fear with a smile was crucial and urged him to keep pushing forward, no matter what. Izuku promised he would. As both Shinso and Izuku stepped onto the field, Midnight announced the start of the match. Shinso wasted no time, insulting Ojiro for his decision not to fight and questioning the bravery of Class 1A. This infuriated Izuku, and in a moment of frustration, he unleashed his laser vision at Shinso. Realizing too late that he had acted impulsively, he watched as the beam struck Shinso in the side. The crowd gasped at the unexpected turn of events, and Present Mike exclaimed about the harshness of Izuku's move. Despite the pain, Shinso refused to give up and slowly rose to his feet, taunting Izuku about his anger issues and suggesting he and Bakugo should seek anger management. Izuku, unfazed, quickly closed the distance between them. When Shinso attempted to punch him, he found it futile, injuring his own hand instead. Izuku then lifted Shinso and carried him out of bounds, feeling a mix of triumph and guilt. Shinso, limping away to the infirmary, expressed his frustration about Izuku's power and how it overshadowed his own chances of becoming a hero. Izuku simply shrugged off the comment, feeling determined to move forward. The next match featured Achiko against Bakugo. Izuku, Achiko, and Ida had discussed the upcoming fight, with Ida warning her that Bakugo would not hold back. Achiko, though scared, summoned her courage but ultimately lost to Bakugo's overwhelming explosions. Izuku felt a pang of heartbreak, knowing how much she wanted to win. On his way to check on her, Izuku encountered Bakugo, who demanded that Izuku defeat Shoto so they could face each other later. Izuku, uninterested in Bakugo's bravado, walked past him, only for Bakugo to jump in front of him, insisting he not turn his back. Izuku simply picked Bakugo up and moved him aside, continuing on his way. Upon entering the waiting room, he found Achiko looking distraught. She forced a smile upon seeing him, but he could tell she was upset. He apologized for her loss, and she reassured him that she would try harder next time. As Izuku prepared for his next match against Shoto, Achiko expressed concern about his lack of preparation. He remained confident, assuring her he would win. However, as he walked away, he overheard her crying on the phone to her parents, expressing feelings of failure. This fueled his determination to fight harder. Before heading to the field, Izuku encountered Endeavor, who demanded that Izuku give Shoto a good fight to showcase his abilities. Izuku walked past him, briefly glancing back to assert that he was not All Might, and Endeavor was not a hero. This left Endeavor feeling disrespected. When Izuku and Shoto faced each other on the field, Midnight signaled the start of the match. Shoto declared his intention to end it quickly, launching a wave of ice at Izuku. In response, Izuku used his laser vision to slice through the ice, urging Shoto not to let his father dictate his actions. Shoto retaliated with more ice, which Izuku punched through, creating a chilling gust that surprised the audience. Izuku encouraged Shoto to embrace his full potential and use his powers for good, rather than being defined by his father's legacy. As Shoto's ice attacks grew larger, Izuku continued to break through, pushing closer to him. He wanted Shoto to unleash his fire side, knowing it was essential for his growth. When Shoto finally sent a massive ice wall toward Izuku, the crowd held its breath. Izuku broke through the ice wall, shocking everyone, and quickly moved to grab Shoto. He used his frost breath to freeze Shoto's body, leaving only his head free. Shoto struggled but realized what he needed to do. With determination, he activated his fire side, melting the ice and earning cheers from the crowd. Endeavor shouted in excitement, proud of Shoto's realization of his potential. Shoto, however, focused on Izuku, questioning his smile. Both fighters prepared themselves for the next phase of their battle, ready to give it their all. Shoto charged up his fire and unleashed a wave of flames directed at Izuku, prompting Cementos to erect multiple walls to shield the crowd. For a brief moment, silence enveloped the arena, and to everyone's astonishment, Izuku remained completely unfazed, with only his shirt singed. The crowd erupted in cheers. Endeavor's excitement turned to fear as he muttered to himself, unable to comprehend the situation. Shoto stood frozen, questioning if anything could hurt Izuku. Izuku straightened up and acknowledged Shoto's effort before swiftly moving in and delivering a punch that knocked Shoto out. The arena fell silent once more, and Midnight declared Izuku the winner. Ida and Achiko felt a mix of happiness and confusion at the outcome. Endeavor, bewildered, wondered what Izuku truly was. The next phase of the competition unfolded, culminating in the final battle between Izuku and Bakugo. They stepped onto the field for one last showdown. Bakugo declared his intent to defeat Izuku, while Izuku expressed his anticipation for the match. As the signal to begin sounded, Bakugo immediately charged at Izuku with explosive force. Before Bakugo could react, Izuku seized him by the neck and drove him into the ground, dragging him along. Bakugo propelled himself upward with explosions, aiming to slam down on Izuku with a massive blast. However, Izuku utilized his speed and flight to evade the attack, countering with a kick that sent Bakugo hurtling through the air. As Bakugo neared the boundary, Izuku flew behind him, caught him, and sent him crashing back to the ground. Present Mike commented on the intensity of the fight, noting the personal stakes involved. Izuku then declared that this was for Uraraka, lifting Bakugo and tossing him into the air before catching him by the neck. He asserted his stance, making it clear that he would not be a victim or a punching bag. Bakugo, filled with rage and humiliation, struggled to comprehend Izuku's words. Izuku proclaimed himself as Superman before slamming Bakugo back into the ground, securing his victory and exacting his long-awaited revenge. Present Mike announced Izuku as the winner of the UA Sports Festival, prompting cheers from the crowd and his classmates, who celebrated not only his victory but also his triumph over Bakugo. Inko and Crypto were overjoyed, with Inko expressing her pride through tears. Crypto wagged his tail excitedly. Achiko shouted her admiration for Izuku, causing Ida to look at her in shock, while she blushed at her own outburst. Before Izuku could step off the podium to receive his medal, All Might stopped him, expressing his pride and presenting him with his super suit. Izuku was surprised but accepted the suit, eager to show the world the hero he was destined to become. He donned the suit and stood on the podium as it elevated him, greeted by the roaring audience. To his surprise, Bakugo was chained next to him, while Tokoyami stood on the third-place podium. All Might approached them to present their medals, though Bakugo struggled in his chains, filled with anger. Stopping before Izuku, All Might praised his progress and the inspiration he provided to others, expressing confidence that Izuku would become an even greater icon than himself. All Might embraced Izuku, who returned the gesture, and placed the medal around his neck. He then called for the crowd to celebrate Izuku, who was now known as Superman. The audience erupted in cheers, chanting his name. In a dark, high-tech room, a bald man observed the events unfold on his screen, plotting against the powerful being known as Superman, vowing to destroy him and anyone connected to him. Shigaraki and Kurogiri sat in their secret bar, discussing their next move when a bald man in a fancy suit and tie walked in. He commented on the state of their lair, expressing his disappointment. Shigaraki, taken aback, demanded to know who he was and how he had found them. The man introduced himself as Lex Luthor, revealing that he had met Kurogiri before their USJ plan was enacted and had advised him to stay in touch. Kurogiri suggested they trust Lex, and Shigaraki reluctantly agreed, asking for his plan. Lex explained that his goal was to eliminate Izuku Midoriya, also known as Superman, who had been a significant thorn in their side. Shigaraki scoffed at the idea, stating that Midoriya had only grown stronger since their last encounter. Lex revealed a hologram of a man in a black outfit with a U on his chest, introducing him as Ultraman, the most powerful villain on the planet and the perfect counter to Superman. The hologram showcased Ultraman's incredible strength and laser vision, followed by an introduction to Engineer, a woman with nanites throughout her body, capable of creating almost anything. Lex explained that these two would be able to take on even the strongest heroes, with Midoriya being their next target. Shigaraki questioned why Lex had not deployed them yet. Lex explained that their development required time and resources, and they were still in training. He needed Shigaraki's help to capture Midoriya. Shigaraki expressed skepticism about capturing someone who had faced a formidable opponent like a Nomu designed to challenge All Might. Lex handed him an advanced grenade containing a rare substance that would weaken Midoriya temporarily. Shigaraki, though doubtful, accepted that it was their only option. Lex instructed Shigaraki to bring Midoriya to their Japan LuthorCorp location once he was subdued. Shigaraki, curious about Lex's motives, asked why he wanted to eliminate Midoriya. Lex shared his disdain for heroes, viewing them as a hindrance to progress and innovation. He expressed his determination to take action against Midoriya, whom he saw as a significant threat. As Lex left, Shigaraki turned to Kurogyari, excited about the opportunity to turn Midoriya to their side, believing they could overpower even All Might. Kurogyari reminded him of their agreement with Lex, but Shigaraki dismissed his concerns, convinced that their cause would ultimately prevail. Unbeknownst to them, Lex had planted a device to listen in on their conversation, and he promptly ordered LuthorCorp to prepare Ultraman for battle, despite his ongoing development. Meanwhile, Izuku was getting ready for class in the locker room at UA. Ida praised him for arriving early and mentioned his brother's injury at the hands of the villain Stain, assuring Izuku that a solution had been found. Ida planned to visit his brother in the lab soon, though Izuku sensed something darker beneath the surface. Once class began, Aizawa announced that it was time for Class 1A to choose their hero names, with Midnight present to assist. As the students shared their chosen names, Izuku stood up, declaring his intention to be called Superman. The class fell silent for a moment before Jiru questioned the simplicity of the name. Izuku defended his choice, explaining that a straightforward name could inspire others, just as All Might's name had inspired him. Midnight accepted his choice. After class, All Might greeted Izuku at the door, appearing unusually tense. They moved to a private area to talk, where All Might, visibly shaken, mentioned Stain's name. Concerned, Izuku wondered how dangerous this villain could be. All Might then spoke about Gran Torino, an old friend who had helped him master his quirk, suggesting that he could assist Izuku as well, particularly with flight. Excited at the prospect of learning from someone connected to All Might's past, Izuku eagerly accepted the offer, unaware that danger was looming closer than ever. Izuku arrived at Gran Torino's home, excited to meet the old friend of All Might's mentor. When he opened the door, he was greeted by a short old man. The old man asked if he could help, and Izuku explained that All Might had sent him. The old man seemed confused, prompting Izuku to repeat himself. Realizing the man was hard of hearing, Izuku felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. Just as he was about to leave, Gran Torino zoomed in front of him midair, showcasing his incredible speed. With a playful grin, Gran Torino revealed that he had been putting on an act and encouraged Izuku to stay if he wanted to learn how to use his power to the fullest. Izuku, taken aback by the sudden transformation, eagerly accepted the challenge. After donning his hero costume, Izuku engaged in a sparring session with Gran Torino to test his abilities. Despite Gran Torino's speed, Izuku found that he could withstand the old man's blows. However, keeping up with him was a different story. Eventually, Izuku managed to swat Gran Torino out of the air. Worried he had hurt the old man, Izuku asked if he was okay. Gran Torino reassured him that he was fine and noted that Izuku seemed capable of taking a beating. He emphasized the importance of speed, especially when facing villains. When Gran Torino learned that Izuku could fly from Antarctica in just a few hours, he expressed disbelief and encouraged Izuku to work on his reaction time. They practiced throughout the day, gradually increasing their speed. Later that night, Izuku flew through a forest, testing his ability to dodge trees. Suddenly, he was tackled from the air and crashed to the ground, feeling pain for the first time in a long while. A figure in black, with a U-shaped emblem on his chest and drones hovering around him, stood over him. The figure introduced himself as Ultraman, while a voice from a speaker in his costume, belonging to Lex Luthor, taunted Izuku. Luthor proclaimed that Ultraman was about to deliver a harsh dose of reality. Ultraman swiftly grabbed Izuku by the neck and punched him into a tree, then slammed him into the ground, mocking him for finally experiencing pain. Izuku demanded to know why this was happening, but Luthor only promised that he would find out soon. They clashed in the air, but Ultraman tackled Izuku, who retaliated by lifting him and slamming him down. Luthor commanded his agents to get Ultraman back up, expressing frustration at their progress. Remembering Gran Torino's teachings, Izuku focused and quickly zoomed toward Ultraman, landing a punch that sent him flying through the trees. He realized that if he could keep attacking before Luthor could issue commands, he might gain the upper hand. Ultraman got back up, confused about Izuku's sudden disappearance. Izuku dove down and kicked Ultraman in the head, following up with a series of punches before Luthor could react. Frustrated, Luthor ordered Ultraman to pull back, declaring that Izuku could not sustain any more damage. He warned that this was not the last they would see of them and that they would reveal their true capabilities. The next day, Izuku returned to Gran Torino's home, looking exhausted and bruised. Gran Torino noticed Izuku's black eye and asked what had happened. Izuku recounted the entire encounter, and Gran Torino expressed relief that Izuku had come to him for guidance. He emphasized the need to continue training to prepare for the challenges ahead. The two resumed their sparring and training for the rest of the day. Later, Gran Torino moved on to Phase 2 of their training. They donned their costumes and boarded a train to a more dangerous part of the city at night, where they would face villains. During the train ride, a strange creature resembling the Nomo from the USJ attacked a pro-hero inside the train. Izuku urged Gran Torino to help, but Gran Torino ordered him to stay put and took action himself, kicking the Nomu out of the train. As Izuku rushed outside, he was met with chaos. The city was ablaze. He flew into the fray, where several pro-heroes were battling two Nomu. Using his frost breath, he helped extinguish some of the fires. Concerned for his friend Ida, who was in Hosu hunting the hero killer Stain, Izuku suddenly heard a scream of pain. He zoomed toward the sound and found Ida in an alleyway, pinned down by Stain, who was about to stab him. Without hesitation, Izuku rushed in and punched Stain, sending him flying away. Ida, surprised, questioned Izuku's presence, and Izuku declared that he was there to save him. It's what heroes do, he thought. He admired the bravery of his friend, but he knew that the corruption represented by Stain needed to be eliminated from society. Stain warned them to stay out of his way. Izuku was determined. He wouldn't allow Stain to harm his friend or anyone else. The time for Stain's reign of terror was over. As they charged at each other, Izuku unleashed a flurry of punches. Stain attempted to counter with his blade, but it couldn't pierce Izuku's costume. With a powerful strike, Izuku sent Stain soaring into the air before slamming him down, his hand pressing firmly against Stain's face. Stain was in disbelief, exclaiming that no creature's flesh could be impenetrable. Izuku declared that Stain's days of killing heroes were finished and landed a decisive blow to Stain's face, knocking him out. He then rushed to help Ida to his feet. Ida expressed his gratitude, acknowledging Izuku's heroism. Izuku cautioned him that seeking vengeance could lead to danger. Before Ida could respond, Shoto appeared, running down the alleyway. He was shocked to learn that Izuku had defeated the infamous hero killer. It was a feat even his father and All Might had not accomplished. A pro-hero arrived to assist them, carrying Stain away and helping Ida out of the alley. Gran Torino suddenly appeared, delivering a swift kick to Izuku's face, reminding him to stay on the train. However, Izuku remained unfazed. Just then, a flying Nomu swooped in, attempting to grab him. Izuku quickly used his laser eyes to knock it out of the air. Gran Torino acknowledged that Izuku's training had paid off. Stain briefly regained consciousness, acknowledging Izuku as a worthy opponent, someone he never expected to face. He spoke of the honor of being defeated by Izuku before losing consciousness again, leaving Izuku feeling a mix of fear and determination. Later, Izuku and Shoto accompanied Ida to the hospital. The chief of Hosu police informed them that they would face consequences for not staying with their mentors, but they would be able to cover it up due to the limited number of witnesses. He also mentioned their promising futures. Ida confided in Izuku that he didn't want surgery on his left hand, wanting to keep it as a reminder of his past mistakes. Izuku felt relieved that Ida had learned an important lesson. Ida expressed his intention to speak with his father soon, hoping for good news about his brother. The next day, their workplace training came to an end. Izuku stood outside Gran Torino's apartment, preparing to leave. He thanked Gran Torino for everything, expressing his admiration. Gran Torino advised him to always be aware of the dangers that lurked in the world and to strive for improvement, suggesting that Izuku might even surpass All Might one day. Izuku was grateful for the encouragement. Curious about Izuku's hero name, Gran Torino asked what it was. Izuku hesitated before responding, calling himself Superman. Gran Torino found it simple and easy to remember, offering a warm smile in approval. Meanwhile, at LuthorCorp, Lex was focused on perfecting his plans to eliminate Izuku. He observed Ultraman being programmed in a pod, declaring that this creation would restore their reputation by taking down the young hero.